The following program contains demonstrations of self-defense techniques as taught by certified shooting and self-defense experts. The information presented reflects the views, opinions, and practices of these professionals, but not necessarily Guns and Ammo or its advertisers. Guns and Ammo advises its viewers always to receive professional training prior to arming themselves for or engaging in self-defense. In all instances, Guns and Ammo and its advertisers expressly disclaim any liability that may result from the use or misuse of any of the techniques or other information featured in this program.
Right, and it does over-penetrate. It will go through building material quite readily. It may go through your house even and into the neighbor's house, where the hollow point ammunition, controlled expansion round, or however you want to phrase it today, generally has the capability of staying within what you shoot it in.
Say, well, I like to reload.
I've been reloading myself for over 30 years, and I make a lot of my competition ammunition. But I can tell you straight up that I never carry any of it on the street. There's just too many issues involving reloads and personal defense.
Possible liability issues. An attorney could say, well, you loaded up some super duper ammo and you had, malice in your heart or whatever.
Absolutely. There's always stuff like that that goes along in the courtrooms where you've got this type of specific killer bullet or something, or they conjure up an image like you're a witch doctor sitting there making a brew.
So, practically everybody I know who likes to think about personal defense carries a flashlight like this, or some sort of flashlight. And we use it to find things in the bottom of bags, but this thing's actually a real tool, isn't it?
Well, you can use it for a lot of things, including finding a way to the gunfight and back, identifying your opponent, blinding your opponent. We found a lot of people, particularly the darker the scenario is, when that beam hits them in the eye, there's a distraction. If the guy's been waiting for you in the dark, the pupils have dilated, the visual purple is built up, so good news for him is he has his night vision. Bad news for him is he's really going to be vulnerable to one of those.
And if you can buy 2 or 3 or 4 seconds while the guy's startled, you may be able to just get away from the whole incident.
Yeah, we never know how much time it's going to buy us. The guy may turn completely away. Typically, you'll see a reaction like this. Even if it buys you only 1 second, you've changed his game plan, and now you're inside his reactionary loop, and you become the actor instead of the reactor, and you're one more step ahead.
In a pinch, can this be used as an impact weapon?
Sure. These little tiny ones, basically, if you just hold it in your fist like this, it's a reinforced fist. The old Street Fighter's technique that has to be 100 years old, with the roll of coins. More weight, more impact, more hardness.
Right.
With the thumb here, the bezel is protruding from here. You've got strikes to any number of parts of the body. One woman who was attacked by a rapist in New York City used hers as a strike to the face and took the guy's eye out. And as he lay there clutching the wet aqueous tissue, she was able to make her escape. And he was not too hard to identify afterwards.
I would imagine so. But, traditionally, police officers carry...
The black flashlight is...
A billy club.
Oh, I got one.
Yeah.
And your problem with that is twofold. First, from this angle, you're very limited in the angles of strikes that you can deliver to the opponent.
Well, also, I can block that.
It's real easy to block. When you see it up here, you know where it's coming.
I know it's coming.
And you can not only block, but essentially, if they see it coming, a movement to the side, it's not at all difficult to disarm.
Aha.
The other problem is, if you do make the blow to the head, we're likely to cause a crushing injury. A lot of cops have gone to prison for accidentally killing people they were trying to knock out.
So how do you use it?
Well, essentially, if you have it in what law enforcement calls the civilian position, first you've got a reinforced forearm. The same blocking techniques that we use with a baton straight stick.
There you go.
And essentially, what we have here, let's say that camcorder recorded the whole thing. As you threw the punch at me, I went to here. Done at full speed, it's probably going to break the ulna and severely traumatize the ulnar nerve. Okay. The camera will show, I never struck you. I've simply shielded myself, and you, in your eagerness to harm me, broke your own arm.
You were merely defensive at that point.
Well, basically, sometimes the best offense is a good defense.
Well, obviously there are a lot of choices available when you're looking for handgun ammo. But the truth of it is a handgun is not the only tool available for personal defense. Now, Bill, you got a rifle, and I got a shotgun, and frankly, I think for a lot of uses, the long gun is a good choice.
Absolutely. I think we're pretty well armed with these, don't you?
We probably settled most arguments this way.
Most arguments, I'm sure of that.
Now, obviously, some people are going to look at this and say, you got to be kidding. A rifle for home protection? What's the deal?
That depends on where your home is. You know, think of it. If you've got ample distances between your house and your neighbors, you live way out in the country somewhere, and, you know, when we talk home defense, too, you may be talking about defending your livestock or whatever.
Could be coyotes.
Could be a number of things, and you might have to really reach out there to be effective.
Okay, this is the new Smith & Wesson model, right?
Yes, it is. This is the M&P 15T, or T for tactical.
Okay. Now, if somebody goes out and shoots at the range, they know how to shoot accurately with a rifle, still doesn't prepare them for how to use a rifle for home defense, for moving inside of a building, that type of thing, right?
That's right. That takes a lot more training, a lot more effort, and you know, you need to really get into it in order to do that effectively.
Okay. Now, when you're choosing ammo for a rifle, one of the things that occurs to me is that, some, you know, particularly 223, you've got the option of this full metal jacket, military surplus, penetrates a lot. Probably not a good choice for most people.
No, you really want something that fragments or mushrooms out and distorts its shape, or something that'll stay within the body as much as you can, and also contain it within the dwelling that you're shooting.
Okay, well, you got some ammo for this thing?
Yes, I do.
Well, let's make a noise.
Let's make noise. That's another thing you need to think about too. You know, inside of a dwelling, this thing makes a lot of noise, and that can be problematic to knowing where other family members and things like that might be.
Well, that's where all this training, everybody says street sweeper, right?
Well,
yeah, you just point it in the general direction, it'll clear everything out.
it still has to be aimed to be effective.
It really does. Now, this one has a pretty open choke on it.
Yes, it does. That's an improved cylinder bore.
Okay, now let's start off with good old buckshot.
See what device is. A lot of people would tell you.
Right. But you told me you like birdshot.
I like birdshot on the inside of a house or dwelling or something. It doesn't go through the outside walls and disturb my neighbors. Also, it may not penetrate as deeply through interior walls. And you put it on an individual at this range, it's going to be extremely effective.
It'll do the job. Now, this is a competition load, 7.5. This is basically a birdshot load.
That is. That's for clay pigeons. Spread out a great deal. You see that that's contained there in about a 6-inch group.
But all the way across the house, and if you hit sheetrock, this 7.5 shot is not going to go through and hurt anybody on the other side.
No, it's not going to.
That's the whole deal.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, the whole thing is picking the right ammo that works for you, picking the right firearm, but above everything else, it's getting the training to know what to do, when to use it, and when not to, right?
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, the ammo is important, the gun's important, the training is always important. So choose wisely and be careful.
Whether we like it or not, or hopefully, if you're in favor of it, we probably am never going to have to use the gun in a fight. That's the ultimate goal. Avoidance is always the best example of good training. Drive on. Doesn't mean anything. It's not really an issue. But what's going to happen is if you actually have a gun for personal defense, okay, you're going to basically load and unload the gun. Many times there are what are called negligent or accidental discharges while people load and unload guns. And I'm sure some of you watching that at one time or another had a gun go off sometime you didn't want it to. When we talk about administratively loading and unloading the gun, it's relatively simple. I bring the gun out. For example, I have it in my home. I want the muzzle to be faced or pointed in a direction that I can afford to fire or replace it if something goes wrong, because they are mechanical and stuff breaks. Once I have it here, even if the slide was forward, I check the status of the gun, grasp a magazine, place it into the gun, over the top, run it hard to the rear. Check it, make sure it's clear. I can recover a holster for the street. I can even punch the mag back out, top off another round, put it in, and make darn sure that magazine is locked into place. Came home, I want to clean the gun. I've been at the range, I want to shoot it. Same thing, gun in the safe direction where I can afford to fire or replace it. Magazine comes out, put it here. I want to rack it smartly to the rear. You'll see people roll them and catch them in your hand. I strongly advise against that. I've seen 5 different examples of people pull it back, not get it right, the bolt face strikes the primer and the gun discharges. This is a preferred method. Get it clear. Check it for clear. The gun is clear. I got it in that format. You're going to load them and unload them more than you're ever going to shoot it. Practice this also at the range with the muzzle facing down range as you acquire skills. I don't want it to go boom in the bedroom if I can keep from it, okay? Practice safe.